Now, if you get a chance to step outside on this very warm summer night, you might glance up at the moon.
You know, 50 years ago tonight, 3 Americans had just landed their spacecraft on the moon. Here's tonight's backstory. It was known as the Apollo 15 mission, the 4th time that the United States sent astronauts to the moon. But this visit that took place exactly 50 years ago this week was different. It was the first time astronauts traveled on the surface of the moon in this battery-operated 400-pound, 4-wheel lunar roving vehicle. They drove along the moon's rugged terrain, picking up rock samples, at times venturing nearly 20 miles from their spacecraft. And the view from the driver's seat was, pardon the expression, out of this world.
Okay, coming on around to St. George, it again is a very subtle old crater. But in this case,
this was also the mission that astronaut David Scott got to test a scientific theory. The question was, if you drop a hammer and a feather from the same height, will the hammer fall to the ground faster than the feather since it's heavier? On Earth, the feather would likely float on air currents while the hammer would hit the ground first. But what about in the vacuum of space?
and I'll drop the 2 of them here, and hopefully they'll hit the ground at the same time.
There's your answer. They both reached the ground at the same time, proving Galileo's theory that objects dropped from the same height reach the surface at the same time, regardless of weights.
How about that?
The astronauts returned to Earth safely, but they left their lunar rover on the moon. And they also left behind a small memorial dedicated to those Americans and Russians who had died during early space exploration. It all happened this week in 1971.